Okay, so now that we registered with the cloud side of the MMS monitoring, let's go install the agent. So what we can do here is now, this is the page we landed on after registration. I'll just click Get Started for monitoring. And as you can see from the diagram here, what we're going to do is we're going to install the MMS monitoring agent, which is a fairly lightweight process that you run on a server in your data center, and it will pull telemetry from each of your MongoDB processes on any number of machines, and it will relay that information back to the cloud system so that it can keep historical data and create graphs and alerts and so forth. By the way, there is an on-premise version of the MMS monitoring software available with the MongoDB subscriptions. The cloud version is free. The software version is available with those paid subscriptions. So we're using the free cloud version here. So we'll keep going. So we'll download the agent. We're going to install it here on Linux. So what I'm going to do is switch over to my terminal window real quick. Go over here to my Linux server that I want the agent on. And we're going to grab this Ubuntu version. So if we click on this, it'll give us the instructions, including the curl command to download the package. So I'll just copy and paste that over into my shell. Okay, so there we grab this file, this DEB file, install it. And as you can see, there was a couple different Linux distro options, so it would give you slightly different instructions there. Okay, so we're going to go over. We're going to edit our config file now that we have this installed and put this API key in right here. And here's the file name. So first of all, let's just see what's in that directory. And there's our config file we're going to edit. And there's some other things that can be set in here, as you can see, but we'll just set the API key for now. Okay, this looks okay. And now we'll start the agent up. And there it is, so it's running. So now that we're done with that, we can close this help box in the web browser. And what I'll do now is I'll click Verify Agent, and we'll verify that the agent is up and running and communicating successfully with the MMS cloud system. And it is. It says verified. So next. So now we can add some hosts to the system. I'm going to add, as an example, a host which is a single member replica set, just to keep things simple in the demo. But of course, you could enter hosts that are part of large replica sets or full sharded clusters to be monitored. Okay, so the type of host we're adding is replica set. Okay, so we need our host name and port, so let's go get that. So I'm just going to go to my server and type host name and get the logical name here. This is an Amazon EC2 host, so thus the slightly cryptic logical host name, but that is referenceable. So the agent isn't going to have any trouble reaching that. So it's very important to use a logical name and not IP addresses, and especially not localhost, which has a different meaning on every server. Never use localhost here for these names. And of course, if you have a logical host name for this host in your DNS, that is the best name. So we'll use this. Once we get this entered in, we'll be able to enter in an alias in the MMS UI, which can be more descriptive also. So we'll put that in. We're running on the default port. If you're using authentication, you will enter in those details, but we're not here, so we won't need to do that. And if you're set up to use SSL for your MongoDB connections, you'll need to check this box, but we're not, so we won't. And it wants me to enter in the port number. We're on the default, so I left it blank, so we'll do that. Okay, so now that the MMS system is talking to the agent, and it's actually probably waiting for the agent to ping it. The agent will then check this host and report back. And as we can see here, once the host is detected, you'll see this here, that the host has been detected. That means we're good to go. And we'll click Start Monitoring. Okay, so here we have the MMS monitoring dashboard, and we can see our host is listed. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to edit this host, and I'm going to give it a display name that I like better. Close this, refresh. So that's just an alias, just to help me out there. So we can add, more hosts now, of course, but we're not going to do that right now. You may be wondering what this message is here. Host has a low open files limit. The monitoring system has noticed the ulimit setting for maximum number of file handles is low on this particular process. So if you clicked on this, it would show you in the documentation how to fix that, because that's not a good thing. You'll run out of file handles without upping that with the default settings that the Linux distro is giving us for a process running. You'll also see here our replica set name, our replica set status of this particular member of the set, which is primary, which is good. The version we're on of MongoDB, up since, and then we can drill down here and see some more information in the monitoring. And of course, we just started monitoring, so there's not a lot of historical data, obviously, but you can see some of the graphs you can see here. Op counters show us queries per second, updates per second, deletes per second, inserts, and so on. So these are basically how many operations per second we're doing, and lots of other graphs here.